So I also went back and I was able to speak with Allie Allen, who at the time was our New England Pest Management Association's executive director. I said, interested in getting involved. Give me some first steps. So she introduced me to Marillion, the city, and then Kelly Allen. They were chair and vice chair of PWIPM in New England. And they were so gracious. Whatever you want to do, I'd love to have you. So I got involved, and that was my first step into the industry.
Welcome back to Pest Radio, the podcast where we sit down with leaders shaping the future of the pest control industry, from business growth and operations to leadership, innovation, and the systems behind scalable success. I'm Faye Sebiolu, founder of Digital Karma. We help pest control companies build scalable marketing systems that generate consistent leads and support long-term growth. Today's episode is all about growth, leadership, and what it really takes to scale a family-owned pest control company in a rapidly changing industry. Today's guest is Courtney Carace, co-owner of Pest N, one of the fastest growing pest management companies in the Northeast. Courtney's journey began with a high school clerical position in her future husband's family pest control company. And over the years, she helped launch new service lines, led business initiatives, navigated a family ownership transition, and played a key role in scaling the company from approximately $5 million in revenue in 2020 and to nearly $50 million just a few years later. Today, she also serves as a leader within the industry through her involvement with NPMA, National Pest Management Association, and at State Association, and her recent election to the NPMA Board of Directors. And Courtney, welcome to Pest Radio.
Thanks, Faye. I'm happy to be here.
And I would like to start at the beginning, looking at where you are today. What originally brought you into the pest control industry?
I like to tell the story that I crashed my way into the industry. I don't really think that anyone kind of grows up thinking that they're going to be in the pest control industry unless maybe you were born into it, which is a natural fit. But I truly did crash my way into the industry. I had just received my license, crashed my car into the garage at my house. My parents said, you need to get a job to pay for the damages. And my now husband, his family owned a pest control company. And I was dating him at the time, and his parents were looking to just bring someone on part-time to help after school. So high school job, and really didn't think much of it. I enjoyed it, but really was truly passionate. Thought I was going to be a lawyer and realized that that was not the direction that I wanted to take after interning my junior year of college in DC. So I was a little
Disappointed?
Frustrated, disappointed, panicking, really, because I didn't know what I was going to do. I was studying for the LSATs, and I just realized my passion was not in law, even though grew up thinking it was. So at that point, my in-laws were looking to scale the business and add on additional services. So I came up with a business plan to add lawn care into our company, which they accepted. And once I graduated from college, that's when I started that journey, while also simultaneously hopping on a plane to get my canine certification. It was the height of the bed bug craze. So I was a dog handler on top of it. So I had some great field experience too. So totally interesting way to get into the industry. But I do feel like that is one of my favorite questions to ask people, because everyone always has a very unique story.
Yeah, everyone has a very, very unique story. Yeah, because I've been doing this podcast and none of them is, even similar. Maybe some family businesses.
Sure.
Yeah. So we can say that with your bad experience, your family converted it to a great opportunity.
Absolutely. I was very fortunate. Not many people have that opportunity, so I'm very grateful for that.
So was there a specific moment when you realized this industry could become a long-term career? So when was that moment, and what was it about the industry that kept you engaged over the years?
So I think it wasn't necessarily one defining moment. It was more so a series of experiences that I had that really kept pulling me deeper into the business. Again, didn't think that this was going to be where I ended up. So I was when I realized that I was passionate for the people in the industry, as well as the opportunities within pest control and how really diverse the industry is as far as job opportunities, I started to get really excited about that. And I think every time I thought I understood the industry, I just continued to discover more layers. So looking at operations and sales and leadership. And I think what has really kept me engaged is that pest control really isn't about pests. It's about people. It's about solving problems and protecting homes and businesses and really creating opportunities for people in our industry to do something meaningful. So I've been able to continuously grow and take on new challenges, which is awesome. And really, that's why it's been so rewarding over the last several years at this point.
I feel like pest control industry is like a real thing, like you're really helping people.
Yes, and I think I completely agree. And I think that is something that we need to do a really great job at explaining further because, again, it's not the sexiest industry. It's not something that everyone's excited to be a part of, but the opportunities, it's just like any other industry. You have marketing, you have finance, you have technology. It's not just you're picking up a phone and dispatching a technician out. You're not just a technician out in the field taking care of a pest problem. And I think we could do a much better job of really elevating our profession because we really are protectors of public health and property.
I agree. So what is interesting in that even before becoming an owner, you were already finding ways to grow the business. Looking back at those early years, it seems like that entrepreneurial mindset showed up pretty early because one of your early initiatives was creating a business plan for a lawn care division. So what opportunity did you see there? So you were so young also.
Yeah, so at the time, we had a really strong customer base and a very trusted brand. So we had an opportunity there to leverage that and kind of spin off into a new direction. And we started with the customers that we were already servicing. And lawn care kind of felt like a natural fit. There was very similar licensing, expectations, and we already had infrastructure in place to help support that.
And what did launching a new division and some of those early initiatives teach you about, business development and leadership?
I think the most important thing that it taught me was really that identifying an opportunity is really only the first step and execution is everything. So you need the right people, you need the right systems, you need the right training and operational discipline to be really successful. And leadership to me, and especially in that scenario, was less about really having the answers and more so about bringing people together to solve problems and move towards a common goal.
You also became, you just mentioned, a certified bed bug claim handler. And during the industry's, bed bug boom. So we can say you also work in the field. So what was that experience like?
It was probably the most unique part of my career. I was going into low-income housing all the way into multi-million-dollar residences, hotels. I remember doing a hotel in Boston right before the 4th of July, which is there's a huge party in Boston, and they were sold out, and they just wanted to be proactive and make sure that they were not going to be putting anyone in rooms that had bed bugs. And that was a really cool opportunity to see kind of some of the behind the scenes stuff of it too. And at that time, the canine was really a cutting edge tool to identify bed bugs. Obviously, especially depending on what NSTAR they're at, it's very hard to see with the human eye. So scent was really what we were identifying, the dog was identifying. And it really started to foster an appreciation for the science behind pest control. And I was able to see the importance of also delivering accurate information and inspections to those customers, because some of the customers were convinced that they had bed bugs and they didn't, and it brought them such a sense of relief. So it really, to me, enforced the importance of customer communication, empathy, and for me, kind of stepping outside of my comfort zone, because I also did some bed bug treatments. So I really got kind of the whole hands-on experience there. And it was really unique. And I think I loved that that's what I was able to do and get out into the field. And it's something that I will ensure that my children, if they decide to come into the business, also have experience with. It gives you some street cred with your technicians, but it really does make you understand all facets of the business. So when you're having a job added on to you in the middle of your day, you can empathize when the technicians are talking to the office saying like, hey, I can't fit that on, or hey, you got to notify me about this. So it really helped me become much more well-rounded within our business and be able to understand everyone's positions within the company better.
So can we say that it also made you more confident?
Absolutely. And I think just interacting with customers too also built that confidence. I can tell you, I think the first inspection I did was in a housing authority, and I really had no idea what to expect there. I was super, super nervous, and it really went well. And the residents were just excited to have you there because you were solving a problem for them and you were bringing them relief and comfort and validating some of their concerns sometimes too. So yes, it definitely was a great way to start really my full-time experience in the industry.
So I want to circle back to lawn care division again. So, not every growth initiative lasts forever. Sometimes some of the biggest lessons come from the decision to step away from something, not just build it. So the lawn care division grew over to $500,000 in revenue.
Yes.
First of all, what made it successful, you already explained because you already have a customer base. But what did you ultimately decide to exit that division? And were there parts of the service offering you chose to keep?
Sure. So I will tell you that the day that we finally made the decision to spin off the lawn care piece of it, I cried. It was my baby and I was quite devastated. We had grown it to $500,000 in just like a couple of short years with really not having any experience in a lawn care division or lawn care industry. So I learned a lot on the road, and I obtained my licenses. So I made sure that I kind of knew the ins and outs of the business. So I was pretty devastated when we came to that decision, but really it came down to evaluating our long-term strategy for the business. And really lawn care required different expertise, equipment, and a different operational focus than our core pest management business. So while they complemented each other, we really made that decision to exit the lawn care side of it so we could reallocate resources to where we believed we could create the greatest value, which was on the pest control side of it. So as part of our lawn care division, that's where our mosquito and tick services came out of too. So we retained the mosquito and tick portion of it, and we still perform those services to this day. But the lawn care itself, fertilization, weed control, grub control, that was all sold off.
So what did you learn from that experience?
I think it was a humbling experience, definitely. And I think one of the most valuable lessons is really that not every successful business line should remain part of your business forever. And growth isn't just necessarily about adding new things. Sometimes it's really about knowing when to let go and when to create clarity and where to focus on. And by focusing on that, we were able to scale a lot more effectively too.
So I know you bought the business from your in-laws, and what led to the decision for you, your husband, and your sister-in-law to acquire the business?
Sure. So my in-laws did an amazing job of building a very strong foundation of that business, of our business. And we really believed deeply in the future of the company and in the team and the culture that had really been built over decades. And we really saw an opportunity to honor the legacy that my in-laws had created, but also position the business for scaling and for growth, which, I know my father-in-law and my husband would agree with this. They are both Italian. They both are loud and animated. And some of our meetings were loud and animated. And my in-laws did an amazing job and they were comfortable. They were happy with what they were doing, but we wanted to take the business to the next level. So it was both a business decision, but also a commitment to really preserving the family legacy that means so much to all of us.
And how did you navigate the challenges that family business ownership transition?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different for everyone. My in-laws were very gracious during the transition. We were very intentional about what we did with our rollout, talking to our team, because whenever there's any type of transition like that, there's always a little bit of anxiety. What are you doing? Are you trying to scale to sell? So we spent a lot of time being very thoughtful about how this transition would go. And really, like, communication was super critical. We spent a lot of time discussing expectations, responsibilities, long-term goals. Ownership transfers can certainly be emotional. That was, where lawn care was like my baby, this was their baby. So
Mhm.
we wanted to make sure that we were honoring what they were doing. And I think there was a mutual trust that, we were so grateful for what they had built, and they trusted in us to carry that on and continue to scale.
Then you, your husband, your sister-in-law now lead the business together. How do you divide responsibilities and leverage each other's strengths?
Yeah, so it's really great because we really do, all three of us have very different skill sets that have really lended themselves to different aspects of the business. So we've worked really hard to clear lanes of responsibility. Adam focuses heavily on strategic growth, industry advocacy, especially on the public policy side, and a lot of like big relationships. I know we might get into this a little bit later, but he's the visionary of our company in the ELS world. So he's all about culture, and it's fantastic. My sister-in-law was on the finance side of it, and then she actually transitioned into a marketing role. And we just launched our brand new website, which is fantastic. And she led that initiative, and she has learned a lot over the last few years, but she helps manage all of our social media, works with our external marketing company, and she has just done a fantastic job. And I think she uncovered a skill set that maybe she didn't even know that she had, but it's been such a blessing for us to have her be able to do that. And then as far as I'm concerned, I'm super process driven, which probably drives my husband crazy because he's all over the place, and I'm very regimented. But I really oversee the day-to-day operations, people development, organizational execution. And then also, really, all three of us are involved in the industry in different ways. But we've been able to kind of stay in our lanes. We have a weekly meeting every Thursday to kind of go over different things, make sure that we're all aligned on the direction of the business. So it's worked really well, and it's taken a long time to kind of get there to make sure that we're really doing what we love to do, because there was a lot of times where we were doing things and we're like, hey, this is not my favorite. So we really honed in on our skills, and
Mhm.
it's been great ever since we kind of established those clear lanes.
Were there fundamental differences between the previous generation's vision? I know you just implemented or still implementing, I don't know, EOS and your visions or previous generation vision when it came to growth. How did that shape your priorities after the transition?
So I think my in-laws, as I mentioned, really built an incredible foundation that was really centered on customer service. Community involvement was super important to them, reputation, and then building relationships. And our vision builds on that, but we're placing greater emphasis on scalable systems, leadership development, technology, and really strategic growth. So our ultimate goal is really to create a business that can thrive at a larger scale, but still preserve our family business culture, which can definitely be tough as you scale. And it goes a lot to hiring the right people with the right values that they can ensure that your vision is pushed down to all aspects of the company.
Or fit the company culture?
Yes,
Mm.
definitely.
So what happened after the transition? The company grew from roughly 5 million to nearly 15 million in revenue. So what do you believe were the biggest drivers behind that growth?
I think pride was some of it. We wanted to make sure that we were doing a great job and doing my in-laws and my sister-in-law and husband's parents proud. And I also think, though, really focusing on investing in people and creating clear accountability was huge for us. So implementing EOS was very, I would say it's one of the, if not the biggest reason why we have been successful. We've also strengthened a lot of our recruiting efforts. We've expanded our service territories. We're trying to be intentional about that. And sometimes it just happens organically because customers, especially for commercial accounts, want us to service different areas. But really, ultimately, what we're trying to do, and our focus is always on this like relentless focus of customer experience. Growth, in my opinion, doesn't come from just one initiative. It's consistently and continuous improvement in all different areas. And it's just sometimes your focus is here and then you're going to shift over here. And it's being intentional, I think, is really important.
And what were the, operational challenge or biggest challenge when the growth started to happen?
I think that goes back to the intentionality. It was a little overwhelming trying to figure out. We wanted to do a bazillion different things all at once. And then we're like, all right, we got to time out. We need to figure out what we need to do and really be intentional. And we knew that we needed stronger leadership structures, better reporting, better defined processes. That's still to this day things that we work on just because things are always rapidly changing too. So making sure that there was clearer accountability was important, and really investments in technology. I think one of the biggest challenges that we had was really ensuring that our culture was scaling alongside the business too. So we spent a lot of time looking at that, developing our core values. We hire, we fire, we reward in alignment with those values. So those have become fundamentally important to what we do as well.
Let's talk about a little bit with EOS. So what problems inside the organization was EOS helping you solve?
Yeah, definitely. I would say we were relying very heavily on tribal knowledge and informal communication. So EOS really helped us systemize that, create structure, especially around decision making and going back to those core values. Is that in alignment with our core value? Is that in alignment with our mission? Is this where we want to be? And I think when you can use that lens when you're making a decision, it's super helpful. And that's been really, really beneficial for us.
You mentioned replacing tribal knowledge with systems. So can you explain it to me? Like, what did that look like in practice?
Sure. So, and to this day, we still have this where it kind of just lives in our heads and we just think that it's everyone else knows it. But what it more so meant was documenting our processes, especially these days, utilizing AI to make us more efficient in what we're doing and really creating clear roles and responsibilities. I mean, at one point, our office team, they were doing a little bit of everything: accounts receivable, customer service, selling. They did all the things. And we really started to define roles, expectations, and responsibilities. So everybody knew kind of where they fell and what their contribution was to the company. Also, really looking and understanding that success isn't dependent on one person's memory or experience. We needed that institutional knowledge somewhere. And that helps as we're onboarding new people as we scale. So still work in progress. We are certainly not perfect, but we have put a lot of time and energy and focus into that.
But it has already started, actually changed accountability across the organization, I guess.
Yes. And that's exactly it. And that's hard. And it was a challenge for us, but it was also a challenge for our team because they weren't used to some of this stuff. And we'd hear the comments of, oh, it's going more corporate. Oh, what's happening? Oh, are you getting ready to sell? And we had to do a lot of meetings. We were very intentional about having conversations saying, we're not trying to sell, we're just it might feel corporate. I hate that word, but it's to make sure that everybody understands what they're supposed to be doing. If we want to scale, we need systems in place to do that. And we want you here to help us get there. But this is giving you some guidelines on how we can do things more efficiently. There were just so many processes that were just so outdated or really just not, it just didn't really make sense how we were doing it. So it also forced us to reevaluate some of the things that we were doing in the past. And I'm sure you've heard this before too, but this is the way we've always done it. And we try to really break that.
Because nobody wants to leave their comfort zone.
Yes. And
it's
that's
frightening.
What it is. Change is scary. And we were like, please stop saying, that's how we've always done it. That's true. But there are better ways to do it. There are more improved ways to do it. So we had a lot of conversations about that too.
Yeah, I can understand that. And what advice would you give to owners considering the OS for the first time?
Commit fully. Potentially, if you're able to, I would strongly recommend getting an implementer. I don't think that we would have been able to do that without an implementer. It seems very intuitive, a lot of common sense involved with it, but having an implementer for us for the first 2 years really allowed us to, he pushed us to ask these questions. And I just don't think that we would have been successful without having that support along the way. And when we started, we didn't even have a P&L. We didn't have a budget. Like, we had nothing. And I just remember him talking about gross margins and all of these different KPIs and all of these different terms. And I'm like, I don't even know what this is. Like, did we make a mistake? Like, what's happening? And I think about how far we have come in really such a short amount of time. And I'm really proud of our team and what we've been able to accomplish, because now we're so data driven and we can't like get information quickly enough. Where before, we were lucky if we were getting our tax information like in July of like the following year. So it has totally transformed what we've done. So I would strongly recommend it, but make sure you commit to it. And I think the organizations that really do get the greatest value out of this are embracing the discipline that comes along with it and the consistency that really is required to make it work.
And of course, growth isn't just about systems. At some point, every growing company runs into the challenge of finding and developing the right people. So how has recruiting evolved as the company has grown?
Sure. So recruiting, to this day, can still be challenging. We run into it more frequently than not, even though I'd love to say that we're always fully staffed and everything is like rainbows and unicorns. It's not reality. But recruiting really has become a strategic function rather than a reactive one for us. So we're constantly building relationships, building a bench, looking for new talent, even if we don't have an immediate need. And one of the best things that we've done is we brought on a talent acquisition person. So we used to outsource it. Then we had someone who was kind of doing it part-time. And January of 2025, we brought in our talent acquisition person, and she is just absolutely phenomenal. She came from outside of the industry, but she just gets it. She's bringing in higher caliber talent than I've ever seen come through, and she really understands what we need as a business. So that has been truly transformational for us, having that dedicated person on staff.
Another area where you made some important changes over the years is marketing. And I think a lot of owners can relate to the challenge of figuring out what is actually driving results. So many pest control owners struggle with deciding where to invest their time and resources. And what have you learned about making those decisions throughout your career?
Sure. So I think every investment should really be evaluated through the lens of return, alignment, and scalability. So it's really easy to chase new ideas, but really what we found is that the best decisions are usually the ones that support your long-term strategy and strengthen your business. So being, again, that word intentional, I say it all the time, being intentional about what you're doing and don't spread yourself too thin. I think one of the other things that we've learned over time is we would do a billboard for like a month and then we're not getting any traction there, or we do a commercial or a radio ad and we wouldn't give it enough time to even see if there was an ROI on that. We wouldn't get, calls within the first couple weeks, the first month or 2 months. And a lot of that, we've learned a lot about brand awareness. So it's not necessarily that you're getting the calls, it's just you're getting your name in front of people. And that has been a shift that we have made in our company to think about that. So we might not have a direct ROI. We might never know that sponsoring a local baseball team or softball team is getting us any leads, and we can't connect that back. But being available in the community and having our name out there, or our name on the back of a jersey or sign on the field, there is value in that. And you just need to realize that there are a lot of different, Google's great, but you can't rely only on Google as well. So you have to do a lot of different things and just accept that you might not ever be able to connect the dot from this initiative to this. But if you're growing, you're doing something right.
And I always tell my customers, you'll always be part of your community because they need to know you. They need to see you because you're a local company and they need to see your name. It's not only just one marketing medium, it works. And people still, we all talk about AI and people still want to do business with real people.
Yes. And I think that's a really important piece of it too, is AI is a tool in the toolbox, but it doesn't replace the face-to-face, the interaction, the human empathy. And I think that is something that I read an article recently that Meta's laying off 10,000 people and that they're being replaced by AI and that they're going to be entering the most competitive job market. in their lifetime and to expect pay cuts. And in the pest control industry, I feel like AI is a tool. It can enhance what you're doing, but it's never going to replace the customer, the face-to-face interaction, the talking on the phone. When a customer calls and they have a problem, they don't want a bot to solve their problem. They want someone who's empathetic, who's going to take care of their problem, and it has the skill set and knowledge to do that.
And then looking ahead over the next 3 to 5 years, and where do you see the biggest opportunities for growth in the pest control industry?
So kind of similar to our earlier conversation, definitely significant opportunities in recruiting and developing talent, especially telling our story and about the stability of our industry and how you can have a really great career in it. I think is super important. Also leveraging technology and data. I think expanding residential services is definitely also a piece. And again, that goes a lot to the marketing side of it and being intentional about that. And then my whole mantra forever, and I think everybody that knows me knows this, but really continuing to elevate our industry and the professionalism of our industry. I think companies that can combine really strong culture and operational excellence are the ones that are going to be really well positioned for growth moving forward.
So while all of this this was happening inside the business, you were also becoming more involved in the industry itself. So I would like to talk about that side of your journey as well. So what motivated you to become active in National Pest Management Association and also state associations?
Yeah, so I really benefited tremendously from industry leaders who shared their experiences and invested in my development. I remember sitting in my first Pest World in San Diego, I think it was like 2018, 2019. And a vendor of ours had organized a dinner, and my husband and I went. We didn't know anyone. I was totally overwhelmed. There's like 3,000 people there. Like, what is going on? I've never seen anything like that. My in-laws weren't really involved. They would go to legislative day here and there, but they didn't attend Pest World. They were very community focused in our home area, but not on the national level. So we're sitting at dinner and with a bunch of great people, and they were just so kind and welcoming. And they're talking about the executive leadership program and getting involved in your state association. So I also went back and I was able to speak with Allie Allen, who at the time was our New England Pest Management Association's executive director. And I said, I'm interested in getting involved, but like, give me some first steps. So she introduced me to Marillion, Massetti, and then Kelly Allen. And they were chair and co-chair of vice chair of PWIPM in New England, the New England chapter. And they were so gracious and whatever you want to do, I'd love to have you. So I got to be involved with that. And that was kind of my first step into the industry. So I joined that. I started attending New England Pest Management Association board meetings. They were virtual. And I ended up applying to the executive leadership program. And then a year later, I was asked to run for a seat for New England Pest Management Association for the board of directors. So it was just, I took baby steps. I also had very young kids at the time, so I needed to make sure that I had enough time to manage. We were going to be acquiring the business. I wanted to get involved, but I also had 2 young kids. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't spreading myself too thin, and I did. But I mean, I love it and I enjoyed it. But that's kind of how I started in the industry. And I think becoming involved was really my way of giving back and to an industry that has been just so great and so generous to me. And what's really important is also to help shape the future of the industry and the people who are part of the industry, because it truly is such a great, tight-knit community. And I'm forever grateful that I'm in this industry. I've heard from so many other people that will go to an event from nationally or even locally, and they were in a different industry. Like, this didn't happen in other industries. People don't share information. So it's totally unique. And I just think giving back it's so important to me to do that because so many people invested in me that I want to do the same to others.
Yeah, I hear you. I know like HVAC industry, they are so surprised when I tell these people that, all pest control companies share information with each other. So they learn a lot. I saw, so you are both, competitors, but also like, how do I say? Like,
it's a rising tide lifts all ships. It really is. And I think that's some of my closest friends are competitors in my area, and I don't look at it that way. We'll often help each other out. And I think that's just a testament to the industry that people have built and that we will continue to build upon moving forward.
And how are leadership programs like executive leadership and leader lunch influence your perspective as a business owner?
So I think both programs in different ways really challenge me to think beyond the day-to-day operations and focus more on strategic leadership and servant leadership. They also introduced me to incredible peers and mentors whose perspectives I continue to value and that influence me to this very day. The relationships that I've been able to build and have these conversations at this network that I could call someone today, on the West Coast and say, hey, so have you done this before? Like, what's your opinion? Because honestly, we all really want to just work smarter, not harder. So if someone has done something and they can bring value and say, yeah, we tried that and these are the reasons why it didn't work, or these are the reasons why it was successful, I so very value their opinions and trust what they're saying that they're not going to steer me in the wrong direction. And it's like you have it's almost like a safety net that you have. And you know that you're not on this island by yourself trying to scale a business.
And I know we were also recently selected to serve on the NPMA Board of Directors, and congratulations on that. And what excites you most about serving on the NPMA Board of Directors?
So definitely, I think I am most excited about being able to help shape the future of the industry on a national level. I'm intimately involved with New England Pest Management Association, and we've made a lot of strides in that organization. So taking some of the skills and leveraging them on the national level. And honestly, whether it's public policy, workforce development, industry innovation, really anything, I look forward to contributing to these initiatives that help strengthen our profession and really create opportunities for that next generation of leaders, because there are just so many incredible people in this industry, and I think they all have so much to offer. So I'm hoping to be really a voice for our region as well, to make sure that we're represented on a national level too.
Before we wrap up, I would love to shift gears a little and talk about the personal side of leadership, because behind, every growth story, there's also a personal journey. And as a woman, mother, and business owner and industrial leader, what have, been some of the biggest lessons you have learned about leadership?
Yeah, so a lot, but really leadership isn't about having all of the answers. I think it's more about listening and learning and really empowering others and creating this environment where people can succeed. So I've learned that what's especially important is authenticity. That really matters. The best leaders, they're not trying to fit a mold. They're leading in a way that's authentic to who they are. And I think I tried to do that myself. Between, my mom was in education. She was superintendent of schools, and she led school districts for years. So I had a very strong role model in her, but also all the females in the industry as well. They've just been so welcoming, and they've really set the stage for up and coming leaders, especially women in the industry, to really be successful. And they paved the way, which I'm forever grateful for.
How do you do all of this with two young kids, and you're not like only a business owner, you're also very active in the association. How do you do that?
I think I'm a little crazy. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think there's a little bit of that. I used to be someone who said yes to everything, and I'm trying to get a little bit better about that. But I just love sharing and having opportunities and mentoring and teaching. And I want to be a role model for my kids too, and show them what hard work means, because you're not able to scale a business if you're just sitting back doing nothing. But also we want to make sure that we're well-rounded in what we're doing too. So where this industry has just been provided so much for us and our family, it's just as important to give back. So I do try. I've listened to a lot of speakers, I have podcasts, read books on leadership. And one of the important lessons that I've learned is it's okay to say no. You don't have to be all things to all people. So still a lesson that I'm actively working on. But really, I think just being selective in what I'm doing and where can I make the best impact and what am I most passionate about. There are, things in the industry that I like, but it doesn't really get me excited. So I'm not going to spend my time on that. I want to do things that are really important to
Excites
me.
you and important to you
Exactly.
and valuable for you also. Valuable
Exactly.
for your time, actually. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And looking back on your journey, like all the things, your first role in the pest control industry, industry leader, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of the people. Revenue growth is exciting, but what matters most is team members who are building careers at our company or team members that are, they've been saving to buy a house and now all of a sudden they can buy a house because they've progressed in the company and they're really loving what they're doing and they're engaged. And goes the same for the industry. I've mentored quite a few people and just seeing them and others just progress through the industry and when they first go to an event and they're timid and they're in the back of the room because it's overwhelming and everyone kind of just seems like they know each other and everyone's friends and they're kind of a wallflower, getting them engaged in the conversation, having conversations with them, making them feel included, and then watching them create their own path. And so creating those opportunities and both in the industry, but then at our business and knowing, especially at our business, that we built a company where people can grow and thrive and excel is so rewarding to me.
For owners listening who are trying to build the next stage of growth for their company, what is one piece of advice you would leave them with?
It's a tough one. There's so many, but I think probably investing in people before you think you need to. So strong systems matter, strategy matters, technology matters, but ultimately growth is driven by people. So if you're building a strong team and you're developing talent and creating a culture that people love and they want to be a part of, you're going to create that strong foundation that can support almost any growth goal.
So we covered a lot today, and like from your early days in the industry, scaling to business and taking on leadership roles across the industry. Thank you so much for sharing your story and insight with us. And I don't know what is next.
I don't know. I'm excited to get on the board of directors and continue to grow the business. We have some exciting new things that we're going to be rolling out in the next couple of months for services. So just kind of continuing to learn and building the business. So hopefully my kids and my nieces and nephews will get involved and elevate it more than we have. So I'm excited to see what's going on. But in the very near future, I'm excited to have an espresso martini and sip by my pool.
That's the best, I guess. Great lifetime goal.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. It was a great conversation, and I was not expecting less than this, right? So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I have been, seeing you a lot at the events, never had a chance, that much to learn your whole story. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Faye. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Thank you.